Guys, I had a really dumb idea after watching some videos the other day of people like playing games with voice commands and things, and I thought, I wonder if I can beat the first world of Super Mario World using only my voice. Yeah, you could save state your way through it and say that you did it, or just do level by level. But once each level's mapped out, how hard would it be to do the entire world without getting a game over? So I downloaded the VoiceBot software, learned how it worked, and started setting up some basic commands to get started. Tap right, jump. I set up commands like run right, or jump, or stop, each of which was tied to keyboard macros that the emulator would be controlled by. I tried adjusting all the settings so that it was listening to Australian English, but it kept telling me it was using United States English. Whatever, it seemed to understand me pretty well regardless. The first thing I noticed was that there was a huge delay between what I said, when the bot picked up what I said, and when the macro was given to the emulator. About a whole second or so. Right. Jump. Run right. Jump. My initial thoughts were that I might be able to have Mario just run right and I can command him on when to jump, but this turned out to be pretty much impossible. So instead, I started to make commands that did some smaller and simpler movements as I encountered new challenges. Tap right, jump, run right. But Juz, can't you just give Mario the commands to beat the entire level with one voice command? Well, yeah, you can, but that's lame. For that reason, I set some rules and goals. The first being that a string of macros cannot go for more than 5 seconds. There can't be any button presses after the 5-second mark. So if I tell Mario to run right, he can just hold down right because he was pressing them in the first 5 seconds. This means that I had to use a lot more commands even just to do something simple. Short right. Jump. 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 The other thing I wanted to do was try and beat the first world with as few commands as possible, so that I had to reuse the same commands and be creative. The first stage was really simple, since there weren't really many pits that I needed to avoid, so most of the level can just have Mario running right with timed commands telling him when to jump. I did have 2 goals for this level. The first was to get a Yoshi. This would mean I could use him for a double jump or to escape a pit death if I reacted fast enough, but also for the extra hit so that I don't lose my power up. The other goal was to bring a mushroom out of the level so that I could work up towards a fire flower before getting to Iggy. Both of these goals were pretty easy. I beat the level and moved on to Yoshis Island 3, which honestly scares the hell out of me. I know this level has a lot of tough parts. There's not a lot of ground unless you activate the yellow switch. There's rotating platforms, moving platforms, growing yellow block platforms. It's honestly just a mess of a level. Starting the level wasn't too bad. I came up with a few simple commands and visual cues to figure out where I needed to stand and jump from. I made a couple of step commands so that I had a little bit more control over minute movements, and I relied on the pixels in the ground to know if I was in the vicinity of where it was safe to jump from. This is something I actually started to use throughout the entire run. Walking right and telling Mario when to jump was not feasible for this level because of the timing delay. So I had to add a few commands for different types of jumps. I created a long jump command that would make Mario gently start to run and then jump, with a gentle turn back at the end so the momentum wouldn't carry him off the cliff. The first rotating platform looked awful, so I decided to try ditching Yoshi for a double jump. Oh my god! This worked really well, and it was sheer luck that Yoshi ended up on the other side of the pit so that I could reuse him again. After all, I knew there were more rotating platforms to come, and if there was a way to save my Yoshi and skip more of those platforms, I was all in. The next major hurdle of this level was the first appearance of the extending blocks. I tried timing these manually with jumps, but nothing seemed to work consistently. I opted instead to make a command where Mario would run and jump 3 times at set intervals, then continue to run until I told him to stop. This ended up causing me a few problems because I kept forgetting that I needed to command him to stop moving, so the pits were pretty well fed. A similar command was set for a single jump as well as 2 jumps. It turns out there was a pipe in this level that I either never knew about or completely forgot about the existence of. This ended up being a lifesaver for getting to the midway, but it caused a little bit of stress at times when Mario just didn't listen to my commands while the P-switch timer was active. Jump right, jump, jump, right, jump, run right. No! The back half of the level is where things got really tough. The extending blocks needed some really precise commands to be able to get across them, and the timings were all spawn dependent based on how I moved Mario through the level. 1 jump, stop. Tap left. Tap left. Tap left. One jump, stop. Tap left. I decided to create a one jump command that would make Mario jump and then turn back, hopefully landing on the center block of the sprite for safety. I could make some minor adjustments using my basic D-pad tap command so that he wouldn't overshoot the block on the next jump. Eventually, I was able to clear the whole level in one sitting, even though it took me about 3 hours just to get there. One jump freeze. One jump freeze. Run right. Oh my god! Yes! That was epic! That was so good, man. Yoshi's Island 4 ended up being a lot tougher than I gave it credit for. A block near the beginning was able to give me a fire flower which I could use during the Iggy fight later. If, of course, I didn't take damage before I got there. I knew there was a safe zone in the middle of the level and a few different ways to approach it. I tried to create some swimming commands to see if I could swim through to the end and jump out of the water when I needed, but this ended up being incredibly troublesome. I tried to make a mid-air command so that I could do a mid-air shell jump and then land on one of the platforms, but I had a lot of difficulty trying to get the commands right to make this happen. The best method ended up being to collect the P-switch that was at the top of the screen, then collecting the star and telling Mario to run right. Run right. The star meant that I couldn't take any damage, and holding an item while swimming causes Mario to float to the top of the water and move really quickly. All I had to do then was tell him when to jump out of the water and guide him into the pipe. Swim jump. I don't know what that is. Step left. Run right. Yes! We did it! Woo! Another level done. Finally, I made it to Iggy's castle. The first room was pretty straightforward. I did have to set up some new commands though so that I could climb the nets. Net grab was a simple jump with a delayed up press so that Mario would grab the net after he jumped. From there, most of the controls were already set up or worked the same while climbing, and I just had to be careful of my timing. While I know there's a fire flower in the second room of this castle, there was no way I was going to deal with collecting it out of a winged block in an auto-scrolling room while having the ceiling smash me, so I needed to keep the fire flower from the previous level all the way to the end. It turned out there weren't many commands that I needed to give Mario to get through this section, since the auto-scroll pushes Mario and keeps him mostly safe. I did need to create a duck command though, so that he didn't get squashed in the pit, but that was pretty trivial. The real challenge lay behind the double doors at the end. The delay from the voice bot was killing me here. Press up, off, up. The way that this boss works is that he moves the direction the platform is leaning every time you hit him. I created a fire command that would send off 2 fireballs towards Iggy to knock him further away. I looked for some kind of timing that would give me a really easy setup for this fight without making any new commands. Sometimes he'd spawn a fireball, which was incredibly challenging to jump over. Sometimes Mario even failed to listen to me. Jump. Eventually, I accidentally stumbled on hitting Iggy with 2 fireballs, then doing a jump to the right which set off a chain reaction until we both fell into the lava. All I had to do now was time a jump to the left while I was bouncing off him and I'd have it in the bag. Eventually with some practice I got the timing right and we beat him. Yes! Oh baby! The thing is, I'd use save states at midway points and the beginning of levels to learn what I needed to do, so now I had to do an entire run from start to finish without any help. Alright, hopefully I can do this. I want to get this done tonight, like this first world. That'd be great if I can do it. 2 things happened that almost jeopardized the run. First, somewhere while I was learning the later levels, I accidentally overwrote my double jump command, and I had to figure out a command that already existed that might get me over the section I'd made it for. Turns out single jumps worked really well here, so I just saved myself an unnecessary command. I also had a mishap where I lost my Yoshi and died near the end of Yoshi's Island 3. This meant that I lost my power up, which I needed before the next stage so that I could collect my fire flower. Fortunately, there's a mushroom just after the midway that could be collected, but I didn't have any simple commands that could do it effectively, so I had to improvise until something worked. I was running super low on lives when I finally figured out a solution, which I guess is now a backup strat. Eventually, I made it out and got to the next level. Yoshi's Island 4 went as smoothly as I could have hoped for. In practice, Mario had a tendency to ignore some of my commands while I was on the floating platforms in the water, and fortunately, this time he behaved. I also accidentally took the P-switch through the pipe and into the goal, which turned it into a backup fire flower, which I never really considered. Oh, I got the P-switch! Stop. Run right. A backup flower. Yo! Nice. I never bothered with this in practice because I didn't think it would be worth worrying about. Iggy's castle also went very smoothly. I made it to the midway without any issues, the auto-scroll room itself went fine, and the ceiling didn't smash me before I got in the door, which was also a huge thing that worried me every time I got there. The same can't be said for the boss fight. Mario completely ignored my command to jump left and almost jeopardized the entire run. Fortunately for me, that accidental fire flower I collected in the previous level came to good use. I didn't have any commands set up for my start or select buttons individually, just a simple command that would exit the level in case I went back for a Yoshi in the first stage. I used this to drop the fire flower out of the item box to give me one last attempt at Iggy. After all, I did only have one life left. Fire. High jump right. High jump left. Boom! Yes! Dude, I did it in one sitting! This challenge was incredibly tedious and really, really enjoyable. I had so much fun figuring out how to get past every hurdle that the level design threw at me. In total, I think I spent around about 8 hours figuring out just how to beat World 1 and getting it consistent so that I could do an entire run, which in the end took about 15 minutes. I'm looking forward to trying a few more dumb challenges like this, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss anything important.